I remember the first time I saw her. It was New Year's Eve night, 2010, moving into 2011. We were at Nectar's in Burlington, Vermont, and I was playing a show that night, Operation Prince, covering the music of The Purple One. I met her briefly backstage during set break. There must have been 30 or 40 people back there partying. Hell, I think there was 11 people or so just in the band. All I know is that somehow in the mix of it all, I ended up taking a shot with my buddies and this beautiful girl all painted up for the festivities. I didn't know who she was, but she was just about the prettiest girl I'd ever seen, so I figured why not. There's a picture of us taking that shot, and who knew the painted stranger would become my wife a couple years later. I sure didn't. Everyone was crazy that night, and by the next day it was all just a blur of purple rain. It was a week or two later when I saw her again, this time at the Radio Bean. I can't remember who was playing music that night, but I bet she does. All I know is she came up to me with that funny winter hat on and said, "Hey, I know you from the Prince show." Yeah, I said. "No, how you doing?" A little small talk got her learning that I taught piano lessons. She asked for one. I knew how this worked. I'd been asked about piano lessons from college-age people, and it never actually pans out to anything. Besides, this girl was drop-dead gorgeous. I mean, I consider myself to be a decent-looking guy, but I don't usually get to talking with girls this pretty. Girls this pretty certainly don't just walk up to me and start chatting about piano lessons. So I figured whatever, I'll humor her about it, and that'll probably be the end of it. And we parted ways and went on with our night. So sure enough, a few days later I get a Facebook message from her asking about the piano lesson. I remember saying, "If you actually want a piano lesson, ask me again." She asked again, so okay, we set it up. Usually I give lessons to little kids in a studio, so bringing this girl to my grungy basement up on East Terrace felt a little out of place. The day of the lesson, I told my buddies that I lived with what I was up to, and they just gave me these smiles. "Oh, sure, pal, the topless painted girl from New Year's Eve." I thought, yeah, whatever, she's probably not even going to show up. But damn it, if she does, I'm going to be professional about it. Girl wants a piano lesson, that's what she's going to get. Well, she did show up, about 30 minutes late, but anyway, we did the lesson. I said to her, I usually teach little kids or much older adults. I'm not really sure how to teach you. I remember she said, "Well, teach me like you teach the little kids." I don't know why, something about that comment just gave me a funny feeling. So I taught her like how I taught the little kids, and after 45 minutes of Mary Had a Little Lamb, she was out of there. I don't remember if I drove her home or not. This whole story is really only a half-truth because I just remember the big picture stuff. And she remembers all these little details about what was said and what we were wearing and all that. I do remember that she came to that piano lesson with that same funny hat. I love that hat. So later that week, she messages me on Facebook again, asks if I'm planning on going to the Radio Bean on Thursday to see the Soul Band. I was planning on going. I was seeing that group almost every Thursday at that point. They were just getting going, and I thought it was a breath of fresh air to the music community. Plus, I knew some of the band members, and it wouldn't be long before some of my very close friends joined that group. Cat Wright and the Indomitable Soul Band. We didn't plan on meeting or anything. It's just a casual, well, maybe I'll see you there kind of thing. Yeah, I'm her piano teacher after all. So me and my buddy Ian Thomas Jansen Lundquist went together, and sure enough, Alexandria shows up with a friend of hers. We stood next to each other and chatted a bit, I guess. But you gotta understand it, at this point I'm still not sure what her deal is. I'm not quite ready to accept that this beautiful girl is trying to get with me. So we have a few drinks and listen to the music, and then Ian and I decide to head over to Nectar's to see I think it was something with strings playing, more music friends. So I turned to Alexandria and said, hey, we're going to Nectar's, you think you might want to come? And she was shaking her head yes before I didn't even finish the sentence. And I honestly didn't expect her to come with, especially since she came to the Radio Bean with some other guy. I learned later that this was a planned occasion. The guy she was with was aware of his role as a wingman. Ian and I didn't know that he was my de facto wingman, but that became more clear as the night developed, and he actually did a phenomenal job. Ian's a classic people person, and there are rarely awkward silences while he is around. So we go to Nectar's, and then we go back to the Radio Bean briefly, and now it's like 1:30 in the morning, and Ian and I are about to trek 2 miles up the hill in the snow. I figured I'd better ask if she wants to come with, and I gave her a fair warning about the walk. We were too poor for taxis back then, which is also why there was like 8 of us musicians crammed into this 5-bedroom commune-style house on the outskirts of town. Again, to my surprise, she agrees, and off we go. And Ian kind of takes charge here, talking the whole way and making her laugh, while I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to do with this girl? She actually wants to come up to my house? I really felt like I was in some strange other world where somehow things were falling into place with unusual speed and somehow very little effort from me. She saw something in me, I guess. I wasn't trying to get myself involved in women at all at this point. In fact, I was purposely not trying to get into a relationship. I made an agreement with myself that unless something really special comes up, I'm keeping it casual and focusing on myself and my music. And this was something special, without a doubt. So she ended up staying over that night, and I remember the next day we walked out of my bedroom and all these long-haired, smelly dudes were jamming right outside of my door, and just walked her out of my room with this champion smile, and these stoner dudes looked at us and given me that subtle nod of approval with a little tinge of jealousy that only men tend to pick up on. I drove her home in our Bear Aquarium band van, an old 15-passenger Dodge Caravan with a less than perfect track record of actually making it to and from our gigs. This was on January 27th, I think, and by February 27th, we were confessing our love for each other. I was amazed to watch myself fall so quickly for this girl. Like I said before, I wasn't trying to get involved in anything serious. I'd been around the block a bunch of times with dating on different levels of seriousness, and I was sick of all that. The idea of a long-term relationship didn't really appeal to me. What does that mean anyway? If I wasn't willing to go the distance, I didn't really feel like wasting my time. I was at a good place with myself and my life, and I figured if I couldn't keep that feeling alive while being in a relationship, I didn't want anything to do with it. But sure enough, with Alex, the feeling didn't just stay alive, it actually increased. By February, we had confessed our love for each other and formed the values that shaped how we wanted our relationship to be. I remember sitting down on our futon, and we wrote down all of the values we wanted to mutually bring to our new relationship. Things like honesty and faithfulness, trust, kindness, understanding. It was a very spiritual moment for sure. I had never done anything like this before, and I'd also never been so scared in my entire life. I knew that once we agreed to enter into this relationship, I'd have to open myself up to her and become very vulnerable. She could tear me apart if she wanted to. But I could see the same look in her eyes, and we both tried to give the other a look of confidence that says, I know you're scared, but you can trust me. You can trust me with your heart. I knew that this was going to be life-changing and way different than any other relationship I'd been in. If I took this leap of faith into the unknown, I would never be the same, and nothing was certain. We could have both turned away right at that moment and said no and just gone on with our separate lives. And admittedly, that was very tempting to do. I knew this was love, actual, real love. It was enormous. It was powerful and beautiful and kind of confusing. but scary and humbling. And we didn't turn away. A force greater than ourselves pulled us together. And then we never looked back.